Where land and sea collide, this dynamic habitat houses some of the planet's most surprising stories. The largest habitat of all, the open ocean is the ultimate realm of new discovery, housing countless secrets that we are continuing to unlock. Conditions in the vast wilderness can change in an instant. To be successful, you need to be able to adapt quickly. Housing 1/10 of all species on the planet, freshwater is a rich and diverse habitat filled with never-ending surprises. Journey to these secret worlds where lives are entwined in the most unexpected of ways.
Uncover stories where life exists on a knife edge amongst Earth's greatest natural wonders. We meet some incredible conservation champions on nature's front line, fighting to preserve the future of our beautiful planet. The lack of an atmosphere would make a nuclear explosion on the Moon significantly different than one on Earth. The Science Channel runs down a scenario in which a massive thermonuclear device is detonated on the surface of the Moon, and what that would mean for astronaut observers, orbiting satellites and space stations, and even people on Earth.
The lack of an atmosphere on the Moon, the video explains, would cause several key differences between an Earth-based explosion and a Moon-based one. Not only would there be no mushroom cloud or city-shattering shockwave, but anyone viewing the blast would likely get a fatal dose of ionizing radiation. This would be ejected into space, but also strike Earth, creating micrometeor showers visible in the night sky. Those same micrometeors would also be a hazard for satellites and space stations. The service commissioned a study of lunar research flights.
The Soviet Union's launch of the Sputnik space satellite in 1957 shocked the world, especially the US, and Air Force officials were likely looking for dramatic ways to recapture the lead. A nuclear moon test would be a considerable feat in the areas of nuclear power and rocketry, confirming America's leadership in both areas. Fortunately for everyone, the Air Force never acted on the study. As a British nuclear historian quoted by The Guardian wisely notes, such a demonstration would have been looking, the moon that would briefly illuminate Earth's natural satellite.
It would be pretty delicious, at least at first. I think after a while of boiling and mixing with a lot of air. The basic thing is, blueberries are so much lighter than rock, so a lot of the transition is just that all the rock of a blueberry. I had some weird physics questions of my own, but it's addictive to try. My specialty is very different. I'm trained as a computational neuroscientist. How will its habitability change as the sun's heating changes over time? It doesn't collapse, and great fun searching through research on agricultural technology.
The Amazon River basin is known for its immense and lush tropical forests, so one might assume that the Amazon's land is equally rich. In fact, the soils underlying the forested vegetation, particularly in the hilly uplands, are surprisingly infertile. Much of the Amazon's soil is acidic and low in nutrients, making it notoriously difficult to farm. Archaeologists have dug up mysteriously black and fertile patches of ancient soils in hundreds of sites across the Amazon. The super-rich soil was purposefully created or a coincidental byproduct of these ancient cultures.
Finding dinosaurs in Alaska challenges everything. The globe wasn't much different than it is now, but it was considerably warmer, similar to today's climate. We don't know how much precipitation there was quantitatively. In one spot, enormous petrified logs lined the riverbank. Kobayashi, who was a professor of paleontology at Japan's Hokkaido University, used a shovel to dig one out of the riverbank's silty sand and gravel under an unseasonably hot sun. A colleague who specializes in ancient plants, a paleobotanist, can identify this and other fossil species.
Genetic analysis showed that several genes had undergone mutations. Those formed a fork in the road, altering the path that generations after would be able to travel. Organisms can't pass on mutations that kill them or prevent them from reproducing. It wraps like a spring around a tapered bone at the back of the mouth, and when the muscle squeezes. During the course of the experiment, the viruses that could not make the enzyme Lu was looking for were removed from the study, the executive director of the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science.
It is a case of convergent evolution, where different species separately developed similar biological adaptations when faced with the same environmental pressures. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time during volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, or other extinction events. This causes unrelated organisms to gradually converge on similar body designs. Organisms have to configure themselves to the realities of the physical, chemical, and also biological world, where the normally translucent nutrient solution turned cloudy.
Our planet is so rich in oxygen, so our crust is silicate and oxides. But there you might have an atmosphere of carbon monoxide, oceans of a tar-like compound, and mountains of graphite with the occasional diamond. When I grew up, we had much more boring ideas of what planets look like, based mostly on Mars or Venus. Now the tricky part is that bananas are very rich in potassium. The evolution of tongues in salamanders, says David Wake, evolutionary biologist at the University of California. Their seemingly unique adaptation appears to have evolved independently.